Hello everyone, this is Karen at Travel Blogger 101, and today we're going to talk about um what are we going to talk about today? Uh we're going to talk about expenses. Uh in every business there is an expense and there is an income, and no one usually talks about the expenses. You see people go, "Oh, I made, six-figure income." But in order for you to make a six-figure income, you are going to have some expenses. But no one ever talks about the expenses, right? So what I'm gonna it's May 1st, 2025 today, and it's actually the beginning of a new quarter. Um and I just want to give you an idea of what type of expenses that you would typically have in a business if you're a travel content creator. Because while it is about making money, you are always going to have some expenses, and you need to think about the expenses that you're going to have. What I actually do is I have all my expenses down in a spreadsheet, and we're going to talk about them in a little bit. And you'll be able to see, or at least figure out how the expenses. I'm using a different kind of screen, so I'm floating all over the place. Sorry about that. You'll be able to see how. I don't have any percentages or anything like that, although maybe I could do that at the end. But at least you get an idea of the expenses that you'll encounter in your own business. Now, I don't do a lot of brand deals, although a lot of people do a lot of brand deals. So a lot of these expenses, if they're smart, the brand deals will take care of them because they'll just put it in the cost of doing business. In my case, because I don't have brand deals, most of the expenses is from my own pocket. But it's also paid for from the revenue that the site makes. So people are like, "Oh, I make $100,000 a year," um, but for you to make 100,000, you've got to spend some amount. And so I always wish that they would say, the net amount that they make, which is a gross, which is a total money that comes in minus all the expenses. So blah 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 blah. Let's talk about the expenses, right? Now, I'm just looking up at my screen here. One of the expenses is medical. So you have to have some type of medical expenses. And the reason why you need this is if you when you're traveling, you're going to need, well, that's insurance, but that comes up later. But if even if you're not when you're home, because most people are going to work from home, if you get sick or something, you will need some type of insurance. Especially if you're in the United States, you need some type of insurance to go to the hospital. And some companies, you will pay something called the Affordable Care Act, and you can pay into that, or you can pay your own insurance. And regardless of what you pay, you're going to have some type of deductible, and you'll have some type of monthly payments that you do. So that's one expense that you'd have. And sometimes you have some kind of medical programs that are out there that you can have. So you're gonna have you're gonna have, or you should have. The problem is that when you're younger, we think we're invincible. Although people do get sick regardless, right? Like my developer is actually sick. And so I can't get any work done because he's sick. That's how it works, right? But we do get sick regardless of how old we are. As you get older, you get different types of illness, and so you need to get coverage. So make sure you have some type of coverage. Um, the You're gonna have membership in certain programs. For example, if you need stuff to run the business. So if you have one example, maybe Costco, you may have a Costco membership where you can, well, it's an annual membership, and you get things either in discount or you get really discounted prices. Some people have Amazon memberships because they order stuff on Amazon all the time, and it makes sense to get that type of membership. So whatever program you have, um, there's going to be some cost to that. You probably don't think about it, but there is. Now, I have a specific service that my website runs on, and I have to pay a monthly fee for that service. There is hosting. You need to get proper hosting now. There is shared hosting, and there is, I guess, quote unquote, non-shared hosting. The shared hosting means that you and other people are sitting on the same server, which is fine. But if the whole server goes down, then your server may go down as well. So you can get what's called, I think it's called managed hosting, which is where you're the only person on this particular server. However, though, it's more expensive, but it's more reliable. And so you have to weigh, do I want to pay more or do I want to pay less? Like I pay about $100 a month for the server I'm on, and now I'm actually approaching the limit and I'm going to have to pay a little more because I just need more storage space. It's just how it is. It's a part of them. That means that's good for the business, right? It means the business is getting better. So you're spending more money. Hopefully, you're making a little more money when you're spending more money. Another thing to look at is business insurance. Many people do not get business insurance, but you should. Because if something happens with your business, one of your clients may decide that um, they weren't happy with your services and decide to sue you, and you usually check to make sure your business. The term is E&O, which I always forget what E&O mean, but I'll put a little blurb up so you can see what it means. But that's the term that you're looking for. Now, you can get stuff from like, there's a company called, there's a lot of companies out there. Just search for E&O and you'll see companies that comes up. Uh, I have a whole bunch of pieces of software that I use to run the business. So there's a piece of software where you would, if I want to attract clients and I want to get their information so that I can, uh, it takes all the information, I can put all that stuff in, and then I can go ahead and book whatever travel that they want me to book. Currently, that some piece of software is costing about $39 a month. So I have to make sure that I make at least $39. Now, what you do in the travel advisor business, and make sure your state allows it, is you charge a fee. Now, here's the thing with travel. Everybody wants the information, but no one wants to pay for it, which is really annoying. And so people will let you do like plan a whole trip for them, and then they decide, well, we're not going to go, or they're going to go from someplace else, or you book a hotel for them, and then they're like, well, we don't want to, so we're going to go stay at somebody's house, which is totally fine, but you did the work. So because you did the work, you need to charge for your services. So people will charge a booking fee or a consultancy fee because it's work. I mean, you're taking time out of something that you could be doing to sit down and plan somebody's travel. And so it's work. So you have to do that. And so there's also like well, I didn't charge this month, but the computer services that you use. So I'm Mr. Clumsy, so I have Apple Care. That means if anything happens to the computer, it'll get fixed. Like recently, something happened to it, and I took it and I got it fixed, and I didn't have to pay anything to do it, and it would have been close to 1,000, no, $600 or $700, I think it was, to fix it. But whatever computer you have, you should have some type of insurance to make sure, because this is your livelihood. Now, I was without the computer for about 5 days, and so you have to recognize. And the thing too is that I went in, I was going to travel, so I couldn't get it fixed. Um, and then I had to wait to get it fixed. Then when I came back, I went to get it fixed, and I didn't have the computer for 5 days. So that means if you don't have a backup computer, you are not going to get enough work done. So you may have to go to the library, you may have to use your phone, your iPad, or something like that, or whatever else that you have. Um, there's a bunch of software that keeps the website running. For example, I have a program it's called vidIQ, works with YouTube. There's Opus Clips, and I think I've done a video about Opus Clips. This is the one where you get your videos and you get a long video like this one, and it does some clips. And it says it pulls out all the points that make sense, and then it gives you the scripting and all the put the captions and everything on there. So there's a piece of software that does that. You pay an amount per month. I think currently I'm paying $19. There's also Taja AI, which you pay $17.99 for per month. Um, I also have, let's see, some people have CapCut. There's another piece of program called Tube Magic. If you have a forum, there's something like Circle or School. Those have monthly payments. I have Grammarly. There's a monthly charge. I got an annual deal, so I did that. If you have like say, any kind of music software, that will you can get, royalty-free music from. Sometimes you have to pay a monthly amount. You may have some kind of SEO software that you have to pay for. Let's see, if you're doing something like ChatGPT, you may have that. That's some type of AI, and ChatGPT is not the only one. There's also Perplexity, and there's Claude, and there's Google. So there's quite a bit of them that you have out there. Travel insurance. Now, this one is super important because as a traveler, you should have travel insurance. I have an annual plan that I have, and I always recommend people to go get an annual plan. I go to passrider.com/travel insurance, and you can check that out. If as a travel content creator, you should just have an annual plan because you're going to be traveling all the time. It makes a ton of sense to have that. The biggest part of travel insurance, and people always try to shy away from it, but it's the fact that you can get money back. So if you get sick somewhere and you have to get back home, they will take you home based on whatever the sickness is. Also, some travel insurance that, well, most of them have a specific number that you can call, and they can triage things and give you the right advice and tell you who to call locally if they have contacts locally. I always use these stories because they're just true to life story. A friend of mine, her son and her was in Mongolia. He fell off a horse, or he got sick somehow. I think he fell off a horse, and she had to get him on a private jet and get out of there to, I think, to Hong Kong so he could get treatment, and that was covered under her insurance. Another friend was in somewhere in the Amazon, and he slept on a boat, and he had to get insurance for his I think that American Express. And so he had to get treatment. And it's never easy because it shouldn't be difficult, but it's easier if you have that. And some companies or some hospitals will want cash. Or you have to pay for the service before they give you the care. And so you need to, find out from the companies, how does it work and things like that. So you should, just so you know, one thing to do if you're doing solo travel, then you should probably have somebody at home or somebody that knows who to call in case something happens. It's kind of hard when you're doing solo travel because solo travel, by definition, you're going alone, right? But just have your family or your friends or whomever it is know what's going on with you and who to contact in case something happens. Just let them know where you are and things like that. Uh, so that's insurance. Let's see what else is on my list. I have two email marketing platforms. I use Beehive and I use ConvertKit. And so you'll have expenses associated with those. You don't have to use both. I'm kind of legacied into ConvertKit, so I kept it because I'm going to use it for something else in the future. So I'm paying a small price, monthly fee for that. And I have Beehive, which is the one that I use heavily at the moment. If you have credit cards to support the business, you're going to have credit card fees, and they will come at different time. Uh, let's see, if you have a phone, you're using for the business 100% of the time, you can use that. these are things that you can, on your taxes, you can claim as your taxes as business expenses because they really are legitimate business expenses. If you use internet access for your home, for your run your business, you can claim that. And so that's something that that's going to be an expense. If you do any type of advertising for the business, if it's Google ads or LinkedIn ads or Facebook ads or Instagram ads, or if you do a billboard, if you do a TV ad, anything like that is a part of the part of the business. Software again, I spoke of that. Like if you use Microsoft, the online Microsoft Service 365 or something like that, that is a business expense. If you use Adobe to take care of your photos and your images and stuff like that, Adobe Express, although that's free, but it's just like Canva or something like Canva is equivalent to Adobe Express, and both of them have a paid platform. So if you pay to use those services, then you can use those. Another software I use is called Leonardo. I use that to create AI graphics. And company is registered in Delaware, and so there's a fee that you have to pay to maintain that registration. If your company is registered in your state, then you have to pay a fee to the state to take care of that as well. If you're a post office box, you have to pay for that. There is Namecheap, and I use Namecheap, but some people use GoDaddy or some other company, and that's where you register your domain names. And you have to pay to keep those updated. And if you're like me, you buy a whole bunch of domains as soon as your brain says something exciting is coming up. And so you have to pay for those. If you go to conferences, those are expenses that you'll have. Speaking of conferences, you'll have your travel expenses. So you'll have air travel as well as hotels, ground transportation, which includes trains, shared rides, bus services, or anything like that. Food, when you travel, you do need to eat. And so those are expenses that you can claim. I am not a tax person, so if you need a tax advisor, talk to your tax person. They can tell you exactly the items you can claim. I'm just telling you the expenses that you typically incur in a business. If you rent a car, buy gas to put in the car, um, more software, a lot more software. I use a lot of software on the side. If you have to pay a freelancer, I can tell my freelancer he's not feeling well. But if you have to pay a freelancer, that is an expense that you have for the business as well. When you go to conferences, you know, it's the airfare, the hotels, the car rentals, the meals, and if you have to buy anything that supports the business, that's also included. I go to air shows, and so that's a part of that's quote unquote convention because it's a business expense because I'm going to the air shows. I'm taking videos of the air shows and I'm posting them online on YouTube or for my audience. That's my content creation. Let's see. And that's about it, pretty much. I'm sure there are other things that you have as expensive that I haven't covered. But the purpose of this video was really just to give you an idea of the fact that there are other things that, as content creators, we have as expenses, but you only hear about people talking about how much money they make. So I wish they would say how much expenses there are. I think in my business, the expenses are probably about a quarter. Yeah, each month is probably about a quarter or so, maybe 25 to 30% um, of the income is the base expenses just to run the business. Sometimes it's more than that, depending on how much travel that happens during that particular month. Some months are very travel intensive, and yes, it just depends. But think about the expenses that you have, and what I do, like I said, I have them all in the spreadsheet, and I know exactly what they are. And I look at the credit cards or the statements that comes in, and if there's something that I'm not using or doesn't make any sense anymore, then just see if you can stop it. Sometimes you have to wait until the cycle completes, or sometimes you can do it in between and they'll reimburse you, for what you haven't spent. I think like companies like Adobe does that, but there's not some companies will say, well, you signed up for a year, we're going to charge you for the year. That's it. But that's your policy. That's your policy. That's what you signed up for. And so maybe you just run it to the end of the term of whatever you have, and then you just cut it off at that point. So let me know if there's any other expenses that you have, because I'm sure that the expense I have is going to be different than the expenses that you have. And let me know. This is Kerwin, the Travel Blogger 101. Talking about expenses for your business because you want to make money, but there's also expenses that you have to spend in order to make money. All right. Have a good day. Talk to you soon.